All right. Here we go. I think we should stop typing now that we're live.
All right.
I think we're live.
All right.
I love to type though.
There we go. And you're super fast and you have like very powerful keystrokes. Yeah.
I do have very powerful keystrokes.
Listen to that mechanical keyboard all day.
It's one of these. So I'm going to show this for the audience because this is really.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh, you're one of those cyborgs, ghost in the shell.
Yeah. It's probably, what is it, Dvorak as well or something.
No. Actually, so the dude, the reason I got on this keyboard was the guy was actually a Dvorak user. He was trying to convert me to this keyboard and Dvorak at the same time, and I bought it in halfway. So
yeah, baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you guys could join. For anybody tuning in right now on Twitter or YouTube, I'm Corey Clipston, founder of GiveBitcoin. We've got Stephen Cole, one of our team members, investor and advisor, and leader of the Orange County Bitcoin meetup. Hi, Stephen. If you go to Bitcoin conferences, he's the smiley one.
That's right. the SoCal Bitcoin scene, long LA.
There you go. And then we're thrilled to have a special guest, Yan Pritzker, author of Inventing Bitcoin. I've been told this is the OG version, the white cover. Now you're selling the black cover.
Yep. Yeah, it's dark. It's navy blue, but yes.
Navy blue. So thanks for joining us from this location undisclosed.
Sunny Chicago land area. Yeah.
Super cold, I imagine.
It's chilly. It's actually not bad. It's like in the 40s. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fine.
Bad.
Well, I
got my sweater.
Our trending hashtag out here right now is hashtag LA rain, because that's like a big deal when it rains in LA.
Oh yeah, I know. It's like massive traffic jams and everything. It's horrible. You people don't understand weather.
No, we really don't. Yeah, one of the other moms texted my wife and said that she was not sending her daughter to school in case there was a flash flood, and my wife said, our daughter's not going to school, so everybody's on.
No, we get flash flood warnings all the time, and we're like, okay, cool. What else is
your
new?
Ankles get wet, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I moved to Southern California from the Midwest, and whenever I text friends back home about the weather, I have to remember to calibrate myself and not use the word cold, because it has a very different meaning out here to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good. All right. As usual, got to start with the weather chat, because that's what people do when things get awkward. And Bitcoin is nothing not awkward. So, but seriously, we decided we wanted to spend a good 30, 40 minutes talking about marketing Bitcoin. That was kind of like the topic of the day, and kind of what that means, and is it a good thing, and just kind of discuss it and toss some topics out. So, maybe I'll just maybe ask Yan first, like, when you hear the words marketing Bitcoin, like, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think I think Bitcoin partially markets itself, but it only markets itself to people who are super duper tuned in, right? Like, I heard of Bitcoin in 2011 and actually bought some in 2011 without having any clue of what it was, and ended up selling. I bought the top at $30 and sold the bottom at $2 because I was completely unaware of what it was. And so it markets itself in that sense, where it's like, oh, the number is going up. This is something, can I make money on this? Can I get rich? And there's that element to it. But I do think that it's good to explain to people what Bitcoin is, because it took me 5 years from that point, when I just didn't understand what it was and I just ended up buying it, to where I actually dug in, and it was like a revelation to me that it was a completely different thing than I had thought it was. And so I think marketing to me is about finding product market fit. It's about finding like the people who will listen to your message and tailoring the message to those people. And I think we could definitely do that with Bitcoin to help people like not misunderstand it, right? Because eventually everybody is going to be forced into using it, as we all believe hyper Bitcoinization is coming. But if they're not, I think we could stand to build a nice base of people that really understand it. They can evangelize it to their friends, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's super interesting too, right? Because Bitcoin has no marketing department, which when you think about it in comparison to many of the other coins out there, some have foundations, at least a small centralized group of developers in many cases, and sometimes a full-blown just like company with a CEO and a marketing team, right? Who pay people to go around and tell people why their coin is the hottest thing since sliced bread. And like Bitcoin does not have that. And that was eye-opening for me too. Like when I realized, wow, Bitcoin is the market leader here, and it has no marketing team. And these other, like, there are organizations paying money to go and like try to compete with it. And
yeah, I think that's incredible, because it really speaks to Bitcoin's power to both self-market, but also that like it's created essentially a decentralized marketing force, right? So instead of us having to agree on a narrative, like I go out there and I write my perspective on why Bitcoin is important, and you go out there and you write your perspective, and we're on Twitter and we're on YouTube and we're on all these different channels, and we're all doing our own thing. And yet from that chaos, we kind of get this emergent order, right? We get some emergent orders, and this stuff shifts over time. But as people have these conversations, I think they create new narratives and people start to understand Bitcoin better. I read something that somebody else wrote and I get a light bulb off of that, and I kind of, change my thoughts a little bit. And slowly, as a decentralized mass, we evolve these different narratives, which is a really cool phenomenon, right? And it's very like open source. It's very true to the nature of open source software, because there isn't strictly leadership. It's just like propose an idea, get it accepted. And with the marketing aspect, it's definitely up to us, each of us, to create our own narratives that speak to our own audiences, right? Like my audience, for example, I'm a Russian immigrant, and most of my friends are of the same background. We all came to the U.S. in 1989. So like I have a different angle than most people, or everybody's got their own angle of Bitcoin. But my angle, for example, is more like the story of like the Soviet Union and escaping that, and like that's the angle I sell to my friends, because they understand that process. They've been through it. But that's not the angle for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's super interesting. It almost hits on that notion of the shelling point, right? Of Bitcoin. And it means like Bitcoin, it means many things to many people, but then collectively in aggregate, there's kind of this shelling point of like among developers, users, hodlers, all the companies in the ecosystem, like what it ends up being today. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm super interested, obviously, given our endeavors with GiveBitcoin and what companies are doing to market Bitcoin. And in many ways, just how easy it is to just market Bitcoin and then be available to do what you do. Mm-hmm. We've got a friend of the company who has deep experience in the gifting space, and he said, a gifting company doesn't market the gifting product, you market the gift itself. And then you're just kind of there and available. And whether it's us doing that and making it easy to like give Bitcoin or to request Bitcoin for Christmas or whatever around that, or Lolly just kind of marketing Bitcoin all the time and then making it super easy to earn some, or Unchained, or BlockFi or Casa just marketing Bitcoin in many ways, and then just kind of like doing what they do when you want to go a click deeper. Shoot, even Grayscale putting drop gold ads all over the place.
Yeah.
That's a lot of budget going into essentially just Bitcoin marketing.
Yep. Yeah, and I saw some other company, I think Crypto.com or something, that they had the billboards that said "Time for Plan B," and they were just they're just like, this is Bitcoin. I would totally agree with that. I think I don't spend a lot of time shilling my book. I just spend time explaining Bitcoin. And when people ask me like, well, what should I do next? And then I provide some resources, including my book, but I also, I promote other products and other people's books that I think are educational. And I find that there's a very strong community here. There's not a lot of selfish people that are just like, shilling their own product and super focused on selling that one product. I think everybody here realizes how early we are, and the rising tide lifts all boats, and we all have to essentially help each other out, right? And our goal is to, there you go, Unchained Capital. Yeah. I promote Unchained Capital all the time. Right, like I don't own any shares in Unchained Capital, but I go around telling people about it and tell people about Casa because I think it's cool. Like I have no stake in these companies, but Lolly, right? Like there's all these great companies in the space, and we're all on the same mission, which is to spread Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin spreads, all of us benefit, right? We all benefit in our own different ways, from our Bitcoin holdings, from the products that we sell, from the services that we provide. But at the end of the day, like the mission is Bitcoin. That's the mission, right? We're not. I actually liked the Pop article that was shared recently with missionaries versus mercenaries, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're not just here to make money. We're here to build something, and then the money comes from that building, right?
Totally, and that network effect is super powerful. The more people who you get into it, who believe in it, and eventually put some skin in the game, and the more incentive they have to share with other people. And just snowballs.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that makes me really bullish right now on Bitcoin is just the build out of that marketing infrastructure, like your book being an example of that, Yan, and other like the Bitcoin Rabbi's book for many different audiences, you know, whether it's youngsters or people who are more technical or just people who are focused on the economics. There used to just be all of this like scattered information out there, right? That you'd have to spend time and go and collect, and aggregate, and try to make sense of. And now it's just like, here you go. Like there's this infrastructure you can just hand to people.
And actually, like you mentioned that Bitcoin Rabbi's book it's a kid's book. Basically, it's an illustrated book, but I keep it on my coffee table because I find like as far as an interest grabber, like seeing something colorful and just, you know, visual. When people walk into my house, they're like, "Oh, Bitcoin, what's that all about?" Right? So even though I wrote my book, I'm not like shilling my book on my coffee table. I'm actually putting the Bitcoin Rabbi's book out there because I think having it be like really, really thin, it's like, I don't know, 10 pages long or something, and colorful, that's eye grabber, right? So everybody finds that angle. And you have to, yeah, there it is, Bitcoin Money. Great book, great book. My daughter, who's 5, read it and kind of started asking questions. She's not quite ready for the Bitcoin red pill yet, but or orange pill. But she started like understanding, like asking questions about money at least a little bit. So there's that. So I think everybody finds that little, you know, angle.
Oh,
For
hey,
sure.
Hey, Brian, since you're listening, marketing idea. We want to make little like gummies or little candies that look like orange pills with little Bitcoin on it.
Oh, that's legit.
We'll give those away at the
CBD infused. CBD infused.
You guys got it.
Listen,
and I'm working on getting our first guest in too.
All right. Yeah, so don't mix weed and Bitcoin. It's
it's not weed. It's CBD is totally cool. You know, it's just to chill you out so you can absorb the vibes of Bitcoin more easily.
Smooths the onboarding process.
Going back to just like how helpful people are. I can't remember if I heard this directly. Maybe I think I was actually talking to Stefan a few weeks ago, Stefan Lavera, and he mentioned that he and Peter McCormick actually talk pretty frequently. And Peter helps Stefan on marketing, and Stefan helps Peter on Austrian economics. It's like, shouldn't you guys like be competing or something? And it's like, no, we're just totally different things in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the audience is, I mean, I think the people that fall down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, they're so hungry for information. You can't really, like, there's no limit to that depth, right? Like, I'll go and listen to a Stefan podcast, listen to, you know, Pierre's podcast. I listen to everything because, well, as much time as there is in the day, I spend absorbing information and then trying to produce my own information from that synthesis. And I think once you go down that path, it's very hard to stop. So I don't think we should see any of these people as competitors. We're really just creating an ecosystem of information, and something might speak to you more than something else, right? Like for me, the angle on Bitcoin was very technical to start. I had no knowledge of economics, Austrian economics or otherwise. And listening to Stefan's podcast was a huge eye opener for me because I just never was exposed to that stuff. You know, and then I ended up reading like the Saifedean Ammous's book, the Bitcoin Standard. And so like all this stuff is very valuable depending on where you come from. And if you're very heavily in economics, then maybe you pick up my book or you pick up Andreas's book and you start getting deeper into technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool stuff.
So we don't know if we're quite ready for this, but we're going to try something, which is basically turning this into a call-in radio show. So Brian, chime in if we actually do have somebody to join. I think it's Lee. Is that right?
We got guest named Lee joining soon. He's got the link.
Joining soon. Okay. So when
cool.
Lee jumps in, we're going to try to get really good at this. And, you know, this is actually the first of a series. So we're going to be going live every Wednesday morning with different guests and different topics.
Do it live.
Just talking about Bitcoin. It'll always be kind of this 9:30 Pacific slot, which is sorry for Central European summertime folks. A little late in the day. It'll be like 7:30 p.m. But at least for US and the Americas and a pretty good time.
Welcome, Lee.
First ever guest. Welcome, Lee.
With the HODL hat. Love it.
HODL hat.
Nice.
Hello, guys. How are you doing? Regards from Malta.
Malta.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
International. Awesome.
Long way.
Nice. Lee, are you one of the organizers of the upcoming online conference? Do I recognize your face?
Yeah, right. So I'm bombing your live stream a little bit. Come join the Bitcoin Future 2020 conference.
No, fine. Happy. Listen, it's right on topic. So sure.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
That's what I was thinking. It's a great match.
Chill away, man. Tell us what you got going on. Tell us what you got going on and the speakers that you got. Like, tell us the whole thing.
Yeah, so in short, we were thinking to, because, it's year is over, and towards the end of the year, you want to give a little bit of last boost to provide value, and then in return, stack some sats. And so we came up with a very short goal to host a small online conference. And that's it. It's called Bitcoin Future 2020. I wanted to make the title as simple as possible, so nail it down, Bitcoin Future 2020, so that also people with, a little less background in Bitcoin understand what it's about. It's really about providing sound education and information, whether Bitcoin is still, a valid technology or if you should call it that finally. And we got an amazing lineup. We're really, really proud and honored to have so many experts on the lineup now. So it's going really well and the feedback is very positive. And now it's all about getting as many people attending, of course. We also will provide free tickets to students and to people who can't afford the European or US prices.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
That sounds like something that is good for Bitcoin.
Yes, sir. I like the free tickets for students thing is awesome. I'm really into educating young people on Bitcoin. I think, that's how Bitcoin happens, is through a generational shift, in my opinion. It's like we are the old dudes like shilling Bitcoin, but like it doesn't matter for us. It's really for our kids, and we need to make sure that they get educated. So that's great.
Yeah, right. And I think the marketing for Bitcoin is education, right? Because you don't want marketing. You don't need marketing. You need people to understand what it's about.
Wait, but I thought it was about number go up.
3-word memes.
This is interesting, right? So this is, it really does differ a lot depending on who you're talking to. And we're watching it kind of explode back out. I feel like the bear market took all of the messages that were splintered by all the ICOs and just kind of all the madness of 2017. And then it coalesced and like Bitcoiners kind of like crushed down into like what was the things that we could trust, which was, Orange coin good, number go up, Bitcoin fixes this, and just sort of everything around that. And now, because we have kind of like a shared understanding, it's like everyone's been through finishing school or gone through like a good MBA program together or whatever it is. And now people are branching back out again and saying like, okay, there's the core narrative. And you've got people like, Brecky putting out, how do you talk to a Buddhist about Bitcoin or a vegan about Bitcoin? And I think about like, how do you talk to like, a fund manager about Bitcoin, and Jan's working on like, how do I reach these kids? And I think that's the kind of splintering of the message that we want, is we all understand, more or less what Bitcoin is. And now let's go and talk to people in their own language.
Yeah, those memes I think those memes are really strong. Like they do bind the community together. And even though they're kind of funny and silly, they also have a large grain of truth in them. Like number go up is, for me, what it means is that price is everything in Bitcoin. Price is a direct measure of adoption. It's the thing that drives adoption. And so even though people will call us speculators and gamblers, like we have to recognize that that's how the thing grows. Like we have to bring people in. But the number go up narrative isn't necessarily exciting to everybody. Like some people are more interested in the human rights angle, or they're more interested in like, escaping poverty somewhere. And so how does it help me if it's so expensive? Like we need to break down these memes into into messages that are specific to those different audiences, even though they all lead back to the same core, right?
Yeah, so you kind of got this onboarding path for all the different like big profiles users. There's the computer scientists who are just interested in kind of like what the blockchain is, or maybe like micropayments and use cases that money haven't even been able to accommodate before for like technical reasons, right? And now that we have Bitcoin and Lightning, maybe we can. So yeah, it's super interesting to see how that's evolved and all these little niches that develop.
By the way, I should mention like the way to get in here and call in is just to put a comment in the Twitter right there, or DM the GiveBitcoin Twitter, and Brian will grab you from there and send you the link. So that's open to anybody that's dialing in. We just kind of want to make this like a good place to hang out. I think of John Vallis out in Thailand not having enough Bitcoiners to talk to, or even myself. Like I used to just try to find live streams, even if it was trading talk. Occasionally they'd say something interesting about Bitcoin, but you just kind of want to hear some Bitcoin chat in your ear, and there's not always somebody right next to you. So we just want to kind of create that space where at least once a week people know they can get some Bitcoin talk, and you can actually interact and dial in and ask some questions and kind of shuttle in and out. So hopefully this concept actually takes off.
Yeah, it's really cool, like how refreshing it is to connect with people face to face, so to speak, who are like Bitcoiners and who are so passionate about the same stuff. Like I lurked on Twitter for years and was into Bitcoin before I started really doing like meet space Bitcoin stuff, right? Going to conferences, going to meetups, and some people don't have a lot of Bitcoiners around them for meetups and whatnot. So maybe this is like a nice in between, virtual meetup.
Yeah, for sure. Yan, I think you've been experimenting on TikTok a little bit, talking about trying to reach a different audience. What made you want to do that, and how's it going, and what are you learning?
Yeah, I mean, with definitely with mixed degree of success. So what I just kept hearing the word.
What's TikTok? Yeah.
Okay, so TikTok is basically like let's call it Twitter for video. So it's very, very short, like 15 seconds or 60-second videos. It's designed like the interface is great. It's super like you just scroll, very addictive. But it's like largely like kids, right? So it's pretty much high school students, some college. There's like old people on there, which are millennials. Like millennials are the old people, which is completely bizarre to me because like I'm kind of borderline millennial. I guess I'm millennial, zennial, whatever. You got Gen X over there.
Over here, yeah.
You got solid Gen X. I'm like a zennial. I don't know what I am. But I always thought of myself as like the young person. I was always the young person in like every company I ever worked in. You know what I mean? Like people were, I was like it just had weird beliefs that nobody else had. And now all of a sudden I'm the old guy. So it's super weird that in that sense. It's also very oriented around like viral content, right? So people doing dances or like oddly satisfying videos where they like, peel fruit or, shave wood or something like that. It's really, really strange, but spend like 15 minutes on there and you'll see that this is where youth culture is. And it gives you a real taste for what's coming, which is, I don't know if it's good or bad, but you got to be where the people are. And that's something I learned. Actually, one guy on there, Gary V, who was popular back in the day. He was an early Twitter person. I don't know if you guys know him from he was a wine library guy, and then he had his own marketing company. Long story short, he's got like 2 million followers on there, but he's just as old as I am. He's like 38, 39, something like that. And he's basically saying like TikTok and LinkedIn are now the platforms of the future. I don't think of LinkedIn as a good marketing platform, but maybe it is. Really? Yeah, apparently that's what he's saying, TikTok and LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is where all old people, right? There's no young people on LinkedIn. Nobody cares about LinkedIn. But TikTok is definitely where the youths are. So what I've been trying to do there is have just very short, like 15-second clips where I just say, okay, like here's why you should buy Bitcoin, or I will teach you how to buy Bitcoin, go to the Square Cash app, done, right? Or explaining in 15 seconds why Bitcoin and not altcoins, which is a challenge. So I think that the format is very challenging, just like Twitter is very challenging to make sure you condense your thoughts in the shortest possible manner. And that's good practice for anybody who's in the field of education or marketing. And, slowly you get some traction there. I'm still definitely working on my traction. But as the platform grows, we're going to get different kinds of users on there. There's one guy in there who's kind of discussing crypto all the time, a lot of Bitcoin, but some other stuff as well. And he's starting to get followers. So it's definitely possible, but most people just don't care, right? They're just like, they're 16-year-olds and they just want to dance and screw around. So that's what they're doing on there. But eventually my content's going to make it to their feed, and, I'm going to try to capture them in 15 seconds or less. That's what you got to do. That's
super interesting. Kind of makes me want to try TikTok.
It's a challenge. I think that's to me the 15-second challenge is an amazing format to just force the shortest explanation possible about Bitcoin. It's tough.
I can see that. I feel like Twitter's made me a better writer, you know, having to stay inside of that 140, or now it's what, 240, 280, something like that. But, you know, it's a forcing function, right? Like, which of these words are really necessary? Maybe TikTok does that for thinking, yeah.
Is that how you do it? I just write what I'm going to write and then I just break it up.
Just massive tweet storms. Like,
although responding to people, like when you respond, you know, like a multi-part response is always going to get lost. So I do, it does force you to keep your responses short at least.
Yeah, I think per word on Twitter, I probably spend more time per word than I do in long form content, you know, because with long form, if I'm writing an essay, I just like hammer it out and I'm done. But with Twitter, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, can I take this word out and substitute this other word in and make it like a little bit shorter? Like, what's the best way? And it's the same thing with TikTok, where you're like, you can hold the button for 15 seconds or you can do it in bursts and just think about like, what am I going to say for 3 seconds that's going to capture the attention? Click it, say it, then think about the next one, right? Kind of do it that way.
Have you noticed any other prominent like Bitcoin Twitter folks on TikTok yet?
I think Brecky's on there, and like Javier Bastardo from Venezuela's on there, a couple other people, but everybody's kind of like, I think people are shy to make content because basically we look like, I mean, we look ridiculous on there. Like, it's like you walk into a party of high schoolers and you're like, you know, 40 years old and everybody's like, why is this old guy here? It's like, that's what it feels like a little bit. So it's definitely a challenge.
Hey, so talking about like obviously one of the best ways to spread Bitcoin is when you actually have more time to talk to somebody, so people that you're close to, and that seems to be the way that it's spreading. There's two ways. There's one is like the internet does its job and you kind of have the best of everything, but there's no connection. And then there's like, you know, kind of a higher touch and, you know, convincing somebody that you actually care about and have multiple swings at over time, you know, and obviously we've all done that with a lot of people close to us as well. What are some ways that you're seeing to augment what people are doing in that more peer-to-peer, trying to, you know, orange pill people that are closer to you, but making that better? Obviously we're working on that, but like what else is out there that you guys are seeing that is kind of effective?
I occasionally share articles that I find very interesting. Like I think I tried to do this for a while, but I kind of fell off the train of doing like a once a week post on, because I do Facebook, for example. I know Facebook's also another dying platform now, like, but there's still people on there that, you know, that have amassed on my Inventing Bitcoin page. So what I try to do is once a week post, like, here's the most interesting thing you can read this week, whether it be like a post by Parker from Unchained Capital or, you know, something like a video somebody made. I just try to make something that's short enough to be digested, but I do think that a constant drip of information is important because like a lot of my friends who I got into Bitcoin in 2016 or 2017, once the price went up and crashed, they kind of all forgot about it, right? And so one thing that's good is to remind people that Bitcoin is still alive, because that in and of itself is like very eye-opening. It's like, wait, what? It didn't die? I thought it was dead. No, it's still alive and kicking, and actually it's doing really well. And the community is growing and the products around it are growing and there's more startups and there's all this kind of stuff. So keeping that drip of information going, that showing people that there's activity in the space when they're not tuned in, because all of us are very tuned in and we have, you know, we know what's going on. But the average Bitcoin, even a person who owns Bitcoin, bought it on Coinbase like a year ago, they have no idea any of this is going on. So I think having it be a drip, whatever it is, just a drip is important.
Lee, what about over in Malta?
Yeah, I think in general, what doesn't work is to try to missionate and, you know, and try to convince. And that's kind of, you know, the oldest knowledge, right? Like Dale Carnegie has this, like, you cannot convince someone of an opinion. It just doesn't work. Like, we will immediately say no to any, if you try to sell me, I say no immediately, right? And I find that really hard because you, like, so many people are, I mean, yeah, it's brainwashed, right? Like they live in a different world than me, right? So it's like, and I agree that I think, you know, the way brainwashing works is propaganda, right? Like just constant repetition every day, again and again and again. And at some point you believe this crap, right? You believe that quantitative easing is just the normal way, and like you have never learned a different way, and it's okay. And then like I think you have to spread these paradoxons and like show people, yeah, maybe some things aren't the way that they think they are. And I agree also, like constant flow of information, like keep it up and keep it fun, so like Pollo feed, right, where you can send satoshis somewhere to the US to the chicken farm. It's always bad if I have the chance to do it in the morning, because then it's dark there and you don't see the chickens. I always have to wait until the afternoon until I can show it to people. But like I think that's the core of it, right? Like before you can actually convince someone, you need to grab the attention. You need to figure out a way to make him excited about it. So a good teacher is not the teacher that tells you like learn this. Like the good teacher is the one that makes the handstand and the physics course, that is kind of a showman basically. And the first step is kind of this engagement, that emotional bond, and then the brain is actually you have to circumvent all these objections first and like go through the grok brain, I think. Yeah. So keep it fun, keep it engaging. Don't be an ass, like just be a role model for a good person, like be a nice, fun guy that people want to follow. Then I think it works best. Yeah, I have to run because I have to interview for our beautiful online conference. So I hope you're all on board.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you for the live stream. It's definitely a fantastic concept, and I think like Bitcoin Twitter will take over media after taking over central banking. So
thanks. And then it'll just be called media.
We will only have like Bitcoin live streams, Bitcoin shopping, everything Bitcoin.
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Lee. Bye. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what he said there, and that's like I agree with that. It's got to be a small tidbit and a little bit of engagement. Like people ask me, like, what have you been up to? Oh, I've been working with a Bitcoin mining company. Oh, Bitcoin mining, is that like a thing? Don't people do that in their garages? Oh no, it's actually like a multi-million-dollar warehouse. Like it's giant. It's and they're mining Bitcoin. It's like a serious commitment. Oh, I thought, wait, it's an industry? Yeah, it's like a really big industry, right? It's a very competitive industry. So like that kind of stuff, or oh yeah, I was just like listening to the hearings in Congress, and they were interviewing Zuckerberg about this money he tried to launch, and they were talking about Bitcoin in Congress. Wait, what? They're talking about Bitcoin in Congress? Yeah, they're talking about Bitcoin in Congress. It's serious now. So like I think those little tidbits of news that are tempered by like you don't have to go into a spiel about it. You just have to say like this is what I've been interested in lately, and then people ask questions.
Yeah, for sure. Not like leaning in too hard, not making it feel forced. I also like the point Lee made a lot around just keeping it fun and upbeat and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like over the years, I've definitely had the dystopian future type of like, pitch to friends where I'm like, oh, get into this because hyper Bitcoinization, what if it collapses and all that. And unless they're like really fascinated with economics or something along those lines, it's often just something that they don't want in their reality. And they're like, I don't want to hear this. This is scary.
I think I also find I've done it that way as well. And I've kind of pitched like the central banking problems, negative interest rates, and like, it's too much. It's too much. Yeah. But most people don't want to hear it or think it's, like FUD or whatever. And it very well might be like this market could go on for like another 50 years. And we all look like fools for saying like the system's collapsing. And that's the problem, right? Yeah. Whereas if you just give people little tidbits about like, this is an interesting thing, it's changing the world in these little ways here and there. For Americans, it's a very hard sell, right? Because they don't have a collapsing society around them. The money generally works. And most people aren't wise to like inflation. They don't see it day to day. They have a hard time understanding it. So trying to like red or orange pill them on inflation or something is a losing proposition. Like, yeah, there's inflation. How about I put my money in bonds and stock market? So There's no inflation.
Well, I've got another way that you can do this, guys. Going in pitch mode. Did you know that you can request Bitcoin from your boomer and Gen X relatives using GiveBitcoin? Just go to givebitcoin.io and hit request, and you can share that link with anybody that you want Bitcoin from this Christmas. And when they see that you want that instead of Knicks tickets or a sweater or a bike or whatever it is that you would be getting otherwise, books, and you want Bitcoin instead, maybe that'll spark a little conversation, and then they will get super jealous when Bitcoin pumps in the first half of 2020, and they'll be like, wait a minute, I only gave you $100. How come it's 300? What the heck happened? You'll be like, that's Bitcoin, baby. Number go up. Don't you want to?
Gifting Bitcoin is amazing, and I've done it. I've gifted Bitcoin to almost all my friends the old school way, which is like making them set up a wallet and like sending it to them. And while it's great for getting their interest, it's a huge support burden on the gifter. So I like the idea of Gift Bitcoin because it makes me not the IT guy anymore. I don't have to like make sure that their wallet's back. Like I gave Bitcoin to my sister for her wedding, actually, like a fair amount. And you know, this was in 2017, like towards the high end of the bubble. And I had to like back up her seed. Like I have the backup of her seed because like I don't want her to deal with that. So I love that Give Bitcoin makes that process easier so that I can actually scale my gifting, because gifting to people individually and then backing up all their seeds and like having be the trusted party in this whole thing, it's nerve-wracking when you're holding on a lot of money.
Yeah, it's definitely the scaled evangelism platform from the giving side. So yeah, we're really excited about this Christmas season in particular. Again, being able to request it and put Bitcoin on your wish list and having that available. I am definitely having my daughters use it.
Oh yeah, same here, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, you have daughters? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, not the daughters part, but this Christmas, friends and family, Bitcoin for me.
That's awesome. Well, really good. I think this was a good. I don't know what comes after a dry run, but this actually worked, and we got a call.
Solid.
I think we'll get more next week. And Yan, thank you so much for joining and taking the time. It was awesome.
Thanks, Corey. Yeah, it was.
And by the way, thank you so much for all of your comments on Chapter 1, which is in the final stages. Chapter 1 of the Gift of Bitcoin, which is the Give Bitcoin guide to Bitcoin.
Yes.
So that'll be out. I think it's coming out in about 10 days. To all of the first batch, the first cohort of Bitcoin recipients through Give Bitcoin will be getting that first chapter in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that, and we have kind of like a near final draft of Chapter 2, and all of these will be posted on the website for anybody to use, and just kind of free for everybody, which I think is a good thing too. And then I just want to tease something that Brady, Citizen Bitcoin, told us about a couple of days ago, which is he's been hard at work with a couple of developers on a resource that basically uses Satoshis to coordinate the compilation and sort of the crowdsourcing of the best Bitcoin resources, both of time and recently. So it's going to be kind of this voting thing where you can go and you can vote, but then if you throw a lightning sent Satoshi on top of it, your vote is 10x. So basically, people who are Bitcoiner enough to send a Satoshi via lightning, their vote is 10x.
Like some skin in the game, vouching for
education. Yeah, and we'll have to get him on here maybe next Wednesday and explain exactly what it is, or when he's closer to actually launching it. But evidently, it's a few weeks away, and I'm really excited about. I love these ideas of like taking these things that Bitcoiners have been doing really well, like hand-to-hand combat, like gifting for us, or putting together resources, and then actually creating a tech product out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That scales it and makes it easier for everybody, because that's really what we need. I think to reach not mass adoption, critical adoption is the term that I like to use.
And whenever you can like weave Bitcoin or money into it and get that incentive, like all the incentives aligned that way, magical. Well,
it almost sounds like you just teased our referral program.
Oh, hey.
So, I'll just throw that in there at the end. Yeah, exactly. So so it's launched in the background. We'll have the front end done sometime in the next month or two. But basically, even now, we're tracking all of the people that you send to Give Bitcoin. Just go on Give Bitcoin and get your own ref code. You can post that out pretty much anywhere you want to. We have a lot of people doing it already, like the BTC Magazine guys and some other YouTubers and stuff. And then we're going to be sharing 50% of our fees, our gifting fees, in perpetuity with the people that you refer. So there'll be details on that on the site soon, but we are stacking sats for you in the background right now for anybody that wants to grab that referral code. And there's a big drop off having people in your first level versus your second level. You get 40% of people that you referred. If you refer your buddy and they refer somebody else, they're getting the 40%. You're only getting 8%. So there's a little bit of a race to grab everybody that and get them signed up.
All right, I'm gonna go get my ref link now.
Go get your ref link, Yan. Test it out.
I'm excited about it too. Like there are, a lot of good referral programs out there in the space, but some of the referral programs that are out there are like good, but maybe a little controversial when you think about like how the Bitcoin are being used or things like that. And this one just strikes me as like good, like all around good, right? Like it is incentivizing hodling. It is incentivizing like evangelizing Bitcoin and educating and onboarding new coiners. And so I'm excited that it's just a referral program. You can just feel great about using it.
Yeah, it's good for Bitcoin. Everything that's good for Bitcoin is good for Bitcoin. It's a tautology.
When that's the North Star, life gets pretty nice and simple.
Yeah.
Well, good. I think let's call it a wrap. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you all next week. Wednesdays.